Houses are a key mechanic in this game and have been so for quite some time, yet not everyone knows the specific details or requirements a house needs in order to be considered a house. My name is Peanut, and I'll be going over just about every specific detail of what makes a house in Terraria. First, a question. What exactly is a house in Terraria? No, seriously, that is actually considered a house, despite how it looks. As we go over more and more of a house's requirements, you will understand how and why this is considered a house and would be viable for an NPC to live in. The first requirement of a house I will be covering is the framework. The framework of a house is nothing more than the vertical and horizontal blocks that will make up the floor, walls, and ceiling of a house. The vertical blocks and/or doors can be made of any of the following: doors, platforms, blocks, or tall gates. Believe it or not, an entire vertical wall can be nothing but platforms if you felt like it. The horizontal blocks can be made of any of the following: blocks, trapdoors, or platforms. Take note though that the entirety of a house's floor cannot be made of only platforms. There must be at least one solid block being used as the floor in order for the house to be viable. In addition, the solid block being used for the floor cannot be adjacent to either of the walls. They must be at least one block away. Some additional notes are that when taking the framework into consideration, you must also make sure that the house has an area of 2x3 space that isn't completely obstructed by any foreground blocks. In that 2x3 space, the NPC must have at least one non-platform block to stand on. However, the 2x3 space may overlap with the flat or comfort items, but cannot be overlapped with certain types of light sources. A house must have at least one entrance, which can be a door or a tall gate in a side wall, a trapdoor in the ceiling or floor, or a platform in the ceiling, floor, or side walls. This entrance does not need to be usable by the NPC, so make a jar for them, I guess, if you want to be some kind of monster. Don't worry, no one will judge you. We all do it. Aside from making a prison for the NPCs, especially those who deserve it, you can have diagonal walls. But they have to be completely enclosed, which means you cannot have just a single line of blocks. They must be connected in order for it to be considered fully enclosed. A diagonal wall that has been hammered to look smooth is considered viable because it was originally considered fully enclosed and is still after being hammered. The next requirement for a house is the size. The size of the house must be at least 60 but fewer than 750 total tiles including the frame around it. Therefore, the dimension of a house's outer frame must meet one of the following minimum requirements. Additionally, this isn't covered in the wiki itself, but this is more so of a thing you may or may not discover for yourself, is that the shape of the house doesn't really matter, so long as it fulfills the criteria mentioned earlier and it meets the requirements I just went over. The third requirement is the background. A house must have a background wall, but only walls placed by a player will count. Natural occurring walls do not count, but the only exceptions to that rule are for the following walls would be the disc walls that are found in structures that sometimes spawn on floating islands, the planked walls found in underground cabins, the living wood walls in a living tree structures, and lastly, sandstone brick walls that are found in pyramids. Walls that are found naturally but are able to be crafted do still count when placed by the player, just not the ones that spawn naturally when the world is generated. So yeah, if you want to make a dirt house, by all means, no one will judge you. The background of the walls may contain holes if the holes are no taller or wider than 4 tiles, so the maximum size allowed is 4x4, 16 in total. The fourth requirement is the furniture. A house must have at least one valid light source, flat surface item, and a comfort item placed within a structure following the earlier mentioned requirements. Light sources. Pretty much anything that produces a light counts as a light source. The only exception to this would be blocks. Flat surface items. Tables, dressers, workbenches, bookcases, or this thing I discovered while writing this damn script, a war table. or even a bathtub. Comfort items. Chairs, thrones, benches, sofas, beds, or even a damn toilet. Lastly, the final requirement, and that is the location. This requirement is very important because if the house you are building is near corruption or crimson blocks, they will make the house uninhabitable by an NPC because this thing called the corruption rating. Yes, this is a thing. Corruption rating is calculated by using all tiles within a 30-ish block radius around the house. In order for a house to be valid, the corruption rating for said house must be less than 60. The following increases a house's corruption rating by 1. Corrupt and Crimson Grass, Ebonstone Crimson Stone, Ebon Sand and Crimson Sand, Corruption and Crimson Thorny Bushes, Corruption Tall Grass, and Vile Mushrooms. The following reduces the corruption rating by 1. Hallowed Grass, Hallowed Tall Grass, Flowers, Vines, Pearl Stone, and Pearl Sand. Sunflowers, on the other hand, reduces a house's corruption rating by 40. Now that you know all there is to make a house in Terraria, it should now be a lot easier for you to make a house or figure out why a current house is or has become invalid. If there are any issues or inaccuracies, please be sure to voice them in the comment section below and I will be sure to pin them with the necessary corrections. If there are any other mechanics or parts of the game you would like me to make an explanation video of, please leave them down in the comment section below and I will take those into consideration for my next video. Please note that I've started college, so my ability to push out videos will be slow or limited. I hope you understand. This has been Peanut, and I hope to see you in the next video.